The ground trembles. It is the only truth that matters. For the Bone Knitter clan, a small band of Homo Habilis huddled in the acacia scrub. The tremor is not a random geological tick of an ancient earth. It is a drumbeat, a monstrous heart pounding through the very rock beneath their feet. It means the great hunters are on the move. Old Cunny, the matriarch whose face is a roadmap of scars and survival, shoves the young ones deeper into the thorns with a low grunt. Her knuckles are white around the smooth, heavy rubber stone she has carried for 30 seasons. It is one of their few ancient tools, a simple chopper, yet it is the pinnacle of their defiance in this prehistoric world. The sound grows, a rhythmic thunder that vibrates in their chests, and through the shimmering heat haze, they see them. 3 Giganotosaurus, a trinity of walking death, carve a path through the plains, their massive heads, studded with blade-like teeth, swing low, tasting the air. The clan does not breathe. To be seen is to be erased. This is the brutal, daily calculus of their existence, a footnote in the grand, bloody saga of the dinosaurs. The hunters pause, their terrible passage leaving a wake of silence. The smaller creatures, the ones that normally shriek and scatter, are frozen in a shared, primal terror. Only when the tremors fade to a memory does Connie give a shout. Bird-eye call. The clan emerges, their small, weary frames casting long shadows in the late sun. They are perpetually on the edge of starvation, perpetually hunted. Their caves are too shallow, their trees too flimsy. They are intelligent. Yes, but intelligence is a fragile shield against 10 tons of muscle and predatory instinct. Connie leads them not toward the meager berry bushes, but north, toward the bleached highlands they call the land of fallen giants. It is a gamble. The highlands offer no water, but they promise a vantage point, a moment's foresight in a life lived with eyes to the ground. This desperate trek is a recurring chapter in their hominid history, a constant search for a scrap of security. They crest a ridge, and the world falls away. There, sprawled across the valley floor like a mountain range struck down by lightning, is the skeleton. It is a thing beyond comprehension. The remains of an Argentinosaurus so vast it defies belief. The vertebrae rise like the arches of a half-buried cathedral, and its wreckage, even picked clean by scavengers and bleached by 1,000 suns, forms a colossal, ivory cage large enough to hold their entire clan. The sight silences them. It is a monument to an even greater power than the great hunters, a reminder that everything, no matter how immense, eventually dies. But Connie sees something else. She sees walls. She sees a fortress. She sees a future. She takes her rubber stone, the symbol of their struggle, and taps it against a rib bone the size of a tree. The sound rings out, clear and sharp in the quiet air, a note of possibility. She turns to her clan, her dark eyes burning with a ferocious idea, a plan that is either salvation or suicide. With a gesture that is both prayer and command, she points into the heart of the dead god's ribcage, become the echo in the bone. Her gesture says, "And we will not be so easily broken." The clan descends. The decision, made without a single word, hangs in the dry air. Moving from the relative high ground into the valley of the dead giant feels like a surrender to the underworld. The scale of the skeleton is even more oppressive up close. A single femur, half buried in the cracked earth, is taller than 3 of them standing on each other's shoulders. This is not just a collection of dinosaur fossils, it is a geological feature born of flesh, and it is not entirely abandoned. As they approach the gaping archway of the ribcage, a pair of Escorpionators bursts from the shadows within. They are lean, brutal predators. Their bodies a mottled camouflage of dried earth and blood, their heads adorned with menacing keratin no US crests. They hiss, snapping their jaws, defending their carrion-rich territory. For a moment, the old fear paralyzes the Homo habilis, but Connie is already moving. She lets out a sharp cry, not of fear, but of command. 2 males, clutching heavy, Sharpened pelvic bones from a long-dead Ankylosaurus charge forward, creating a diversion. The rest of the clan unleashes a volley of stones, a desperate, inaccurate fusillade that is more noise than threat. It is a chaotic, clumsy battle, a testament to the brutal inefficiency of prehistoric life. One of the scavengers lunges, its teeth tearing a deep gash in a male's arm before he is dragged back by his kin. But the coordinated assault, the sheer, unexpected fury of these small bites, is enough. The Scorpionators, accustomed to scaring off lone rivals, retreat with angry snarls into the wilderness. The victory is costly, but it galvanizes them. They have claimed their fortress. No. The real work begins, a monumental feat of primitive technology and sheer will, 4 days that blur into a haze of dust and effort. They labor. Children are tasked with the gruesome work of scraping away the last desiccated remnants of flesh and sinew from the smaller bones. Women use their stone choppers to flake the edges of fractured ribs into wicked points. The entire clan works to drag these sharpened bones, some weighing as much as a full-grown male, and wedge them between the colossal main ribs of the Argentinosaurus. They use the towering vertebrae of the spinal column as anchors, weaving a lasso of vine and salvaged hide, lashing the sharpened bone spears into place. It is a slow, agonizing process, a new and desperate entry in their long hominid history. They are knitting a wall of daggers. Connie directs every placement, her mind seeing not just a wall, but a weapon. She positions the sharpest points at the height of a Giganotosaurus' head, angled downwards. These early humans are no longer just hiding. They are fortifying, thinking, preparing for a war they cannot possibly win. As the structure takes shape, a change occurs within the clan. The constant, hunted terror in their eyes is slowly replaced by a grim, focused exhaustion. There is a sense of purpose. They are not merely surviving the day, they are building a tomorrow. At night, huddled inside their half-finished cage of bone, they can still feel the tremors of the great hunters. The sound is no less terrifying, but now, it is the sound of a threat outside their walls. The ground shudders not with the familiar rhythm of the pack, but with the arrogant, solitary weight of a king. It is the Alpha Giganotosaurus, larger and more scarred than the others, drawn by the scent of a concentrated food source. It circles the colossal skeleton of the Argentinosaurus, its massive head low, yellow eyes burning with a malevolent intelligence. This is not just a passing hunt. This is an investigation. The creature is one of the most dangerous dinosaurs to ever walk the planet, a rival to the later Tyrannosaurus rex in its sheer predatory perfection. Inside their bone cathedral, the clan is silent, their bodies pressed against the woven walls. They are a community of 30 heartbeats hammering against a cage of ribs. The alpha roars, a sound that is not merely heard but felt, a physical blow that rattles the very bones of their fortress. Then it attacks. It lowers its head and drums the structure. The impact of a living battering ram. The entire skeleton groans, and dust, the powdered memory of the dead giant, rains down on them. The sharpened bone spears, their greatest feat of engineering, scrape and score the predator's hide, drawing blood but doing no real damage. The beast bellows in fury and rams the wall again, harder. A section of the woven lattice splinters, a ribs pair cracking with a sound like a thunderclap. Panicked, cold and absolute, begins to set in. The fortress is failing. The Alpha, learning from its first assault, ignores the stronger sections and begins to probe for weaknesses. Its snout shoving with terrifying force at the gaps they couldn't fully secure. It finds one near the base, where the curve of the ribcage meets the earth, and begins to claw, tearing at the dirt with talons the size of daggers. Connie watches, her face a mask of cold calculation. She sees the inevitable. The wall will be breached. They will be cornered, trapped, and annihilated in a frenzy of snapping jaws. A hard choice solidifies in her mind. A terrible piece of survival arithmetic. One life to save 30. It is the brutal logic that has governed human evolution for 1,000,000 years. She turns to Terrake, the young, strong male who had helped fight off the scavengers, and presses her worn river's stone chopper into his hand. It is not a weapon, it is a mantle of leadership. He looks at her, his eyes wide with incomprehension and dawning horror. She gives a single, sharp nod, then turns to the clan, her gaze lingering on the children. This is the ultimate act of an apex matriarch. Without a sound, she slips through a small opening at the rear of the skeleton, a gap they had left as an escape route but which was now a path to sacrifice. She is out, alone on the plain with the king of the carnivores. For a moment, she is just a small, fragile hominid, a fleeting thought in a world that asks, what if dinosaurs were still alive to witness our rise? Then, she screams, that piercing cry that cuts through the monster's focused rage. The alpha's head whips around, its terrible eye fixing on her. It has found its prey. The story of the Bone Knitter clan is not written in stone tablets or painted on cavern walls. It is etched into the very blueprint of our own audacity. In the shadow of titans, they did not just survive, they defied. The fortress they built was not merely a structure of Osteodontokeratic technology. It was the physical manifestation of an idea. The radical, world-altering concept that cunning could challenge size, that community could withstand chaos, and that foresight could outmaneuver fate. Canna's sacrifice was not an ending but a foundation. The terrible, necessary price for a future she would never see. This is the echo that reverberates through the deep time of hominid history. Every time our ancestors studied a predator's habits, every time they cooperated on a hunt, every time they chose the group's survival over their own, they were honoring the legacy of the bone knitters. Their struggle poses a question that hums within our own DNA. What is courage, if not the rational decision to face impossible odds for a future you will not live to see? Their desperate stand inside the bones of a fallen god was one of the first declarations that this planet would not belong to the strongest, but to the most stubborn, the most intelligent, and the most willing to bleed for the dawn. We are the children of the whisper in the bone. We are the echo of the defiance in the dust. Far to the south, where the great river bleeds into the sea, a different clan looks to the sky and learns to fear the shadow that blots out the sun.